Now, speaking of drought and life on the land, did you catch Australian Story last night? It looked at how farmer Charles Massey was able to use regenerative agriculture techniques to help his farm near Cooma recover while still being productive, even during the drought. Well, it turns out that we've got farmers using regenerative agriculture to great success here in the Hunter as well. Adam Turner owns Springhill Farm with his wife Jodie. They farm beef at Mount Rivers near Gresford. Adam's with us now to give us an insight into how he goes about feeding himself and his family. G'day, Adam. How you going?
Good, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. So, regenerative agriculture, we hear a fair bit of it. How different is it from what we would, think to be conventional agriculture?
It's very similar. It's just probably a more focus on soil health and a rest period for your pastures than what conventional farming would have.
So, can you take us through a little bit of a history of agriculture? Not that I expect you to be a historian, but just tell us why the thinking has changed and the reasons behind it.
I think the reasons behind it have been a degradation of farmland over a long period of time. So droughts have got harsher. It's taken a lot longer for pastures to regenerate after these harder times. So people are starting to look at other ways of how it can work and why it's been done that way for so long.
And what's the secret then? You mentioned that there's resting of paddocks. Is there a set formula, or does it depend on the particular, the topography of your block and the climate, the location of it even?
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the season. It depends on your grasses. It depends on a whole heap of different stuff. But basically, it changes with seasons and it changes with rainfall. But you want a high density of cattle on a small area for a short period of time. So we generally work on 1 to 3 days on each area of our paddock.
Okay.
And then they're moved on. So that way they're disturbing the soil, which breaks the soil up. So if we do get any rain in that time, it'll penetrate the ground easier. They also fertilise the ground. They eat the grasses fairly heavily, but they're not eating the regrowth. So that gives the time then when you give them rest that they're growing longer roots and longer up top as well. So you've got a lot more feed to come back onto when you do come back around.
So from what I've seen about regenerative agriculture, you use electric fencing, don't you, to divide up the paddocks?
Yeah, we do. Yep.
Okay. How effective is that?
Pretty effective. We've had a lot of trial and error with it. It's pretty frustrating when you get right through the end of a paddock and they've busted an electric fence and come all the way back over it. But a good electric fence energiser is worth its weight in gold when you're doing this sort of farming.
Yeah, understand. When did you first gotten onto it, Adam?
Really about 18 months ago is when we got onto it, so we're fairly new to it in the big scheme of things. Me and Jodie did a holistic management course at Tokyo College. It was an introductory to holistic management, and that sort of really opened our eyes to what's achievable and a better way to manage, I think. And then I've done another course since then at RCS out at Dubbo, which was a 7-day, fairly intensive regenerative program out there to learn a lot more about it.
So you didn't get much exposure to it coming in. Did you go to ag college and stuff? How did you get onto life on the land in the first place?
No, my grandparents were dairy farmers. So I guess I wasn't. I moved from Muswellbrook. I was born in Muswellbrook. We moved to the Central Coast, and I grew up down the Central Coast and then moved back later on, back to Singleton, the Singleton area anyway.
Yep.
But I always seen them struggle with droughts and stuff like that. So I always was open to different ideas and different ways. So as soon as I started hearing about regenerative farming and seeing some of the results that they were getting, it certainly piqued my interest.
Adam, does it seem more manageable to you? Because we worry about, multi-generations or the modern generations of multi-generational farms leaving the land because it's too bloody hard. They want to go and surf and go to the city as well, because I guess there's a feeling of helplessness when you're at the whim of the seasons and stuff. So does it seem like you've got greater control over what's going on?
It does. It certainly does. I mean, we're always trying to grow our soil health and stuff like that so that when we do get rain, we capture as much as we can. And we see some of these guys that have been farming in this way for a long period of time, and they do. They capture all the rain in their soil. It doesn't run off. So, if you're losing 90% of the rain because of runoff, you're going to be more affected with these drought times and flood times as well. So I think it sort of mediates that. It levels it out a little bit more and makes it a little bit more manageable.
Adam, how do you measure success? Is it in yield with your cattle? Are you getting good weights, or is it more to do with the quality of the soil? Do you measure that?
Soil quality is what we've changed our whole management focus to soil and pastures as opposed to cattle.
Okay.
But I mean, we sell beef, so our cattle have also got to be finished to a certain spec, and we're pretty hard on what does go through to our customers. So I would say we still focus fairly heavily on both, but soil is definitely high on the agenda now.
Yeah, but you're pleased with the move to this process?
Yeah, definitely. And I can see, like I say, through the drought, it was hard to see a massive difference because we just weren't getting the rainfall. But as soon as we got rain, our pastures just went ballistic.
Okay.
We had chicory that was nearly knee high, and like in places it's never had chicory before. Clover, that the leaves on the clover were nearly the size of your palm in your hand. Yeah, it was incredible.
Don't oversell it, Adam. Good on you, mate. Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate your insight.
Not a problem at all. Thank you.
There's Adam Turner, who's the owner of Springhill Farm, he's out there with his wife, and they've had great success, him and Jody, with regenerative agriculture at Springhill Farm, Mount Rivers near Gresford.